Love like yours will surely come my way. Every day seems a little longer. Every way love's a little stronger. Come what may, do you ever long for true love from me? There you go, and baby, here am I. Oh, will you left me here so I could sit and cry? Well, golly gee, what have you done to me? Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Love you like I do.
Another one of the most notable Willys in this Willys area is Dave Hales' 1937 Willys, and we got a chance to videotape this some years ago, but we never got a chance to get Dave on camera. So I want to welcome you to Cars and Us.
Well, thank you.
And like I said, it's I'm glad to get the opportunity because we never got a chance to talk to you last time, and that's going back to 2001. So the car, it's just a gorgeous car. It has some history. You were a record holder. You won the Nationals. I mean, there's got to be a lot of history to this car. So let's tell the viewers from the start.
Well, there's some history. I need to correct you right there. I didn't win the Nationals.
You didn't? Well, you were runner-up?
I was runner-up.
Okay.
That's the second place guy.
Okay, well, that's all right. That's close enough.
But it's been a good car for me. When I was a kid, I was 19 years old, and I found this car in a field in Maryland and bought it for $25.
No kidding. $25. Boy, is that way back.
That is. And I made a race car out of it and had a great time for 5 years and sold it in ’67. And it was basically gone for 35 years. And it showed up in Michigan about 8 years ago, and I was able to get it back.
How were you able to authenticate it?
Well, most of it was still intact.
It was still intact?
Yeah, it was still intact. The original upholstery was still in it. All the brackets on the frame that I put on were there. All the original body parts were still on it, including all the fiberglass that I got from Hales and Zartmann back in the early '60s was still there. Roll bar was still in it. All the little things that I'd done, it was just an old, worn-out car.
So how much of a chore or project was it to bring it back to the way you wanted?
Well, it was pretty much a labor of love. You know, it's like an old friend coming back.
How long
home.
did it take you?
It took 18 months.
Well, that's not too bad.
No, and the hardest part was really finding old parts, the running gear parts.
Well, that always is.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was good. It was it's a therapy kind of thing for me, and it allowed me, among other things, to get back together with all my old friends from the S&S days.
Right,
and
right.
I think that's maybe the most important thing, really.
Where are you from originally?
Virginia.
Virginia. You still reside?
No, I just moved to Florida recently, but I've been in Virginia till about 1.5 years ago.
Oh, okay. Tell us some of the tracks that you ran. You must have done a lot of traveling with this car.
Well, probably the furthest we went was Indianapolis, and we did that every year for the Nationals. We ran all the tracks in Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, some, I guess.
You never came up to the Northeast and well, upper Northeast. You never ran like Sanford, Maine, or Epping?
No, I think New Jersey's probably as far as we went.
And where in Jersey? Did you run Atco?
We went Atco several times. Yeah, that was the main one, I think.
Now, were you still running? Well, you were still running when Englishtown opened up.
When was that? What?
Late 65?
Yeah, we were running then, but I never went
didn't
there.
go? Okay.
No, never went there.
How about Flemington?
Never did.
No,
I remember at Flemington, but I never ran there.
You know, there's very few people that know of Flemington, you know? I talked to a lot of people, and there's only a few of us that raced out of Flemington.
That's old guys, maybe.
Well, no, not so much age. It's just, I guess the track really wasn't that, and it was a nice track. Well, it was a flagger. They didn't have any lights.
Well, a lot of them were before 63.
Oh, sure, but this was 63, 64, 65, and they didn't have any lights.
Well, sometimes it was more fun with the flagman.
It was great. The only thing that I know we're digressing from the car, but interesting fact about Flemington was when you ran the Eliminator, they went by car lengths. But the problem was that if, say you ran a stock class, the lower stock class, they put him out one car length in front of you. So he didn't actually run a quarter mile. He ran less than a quarter of a mile.
Mm-hmm. And he was going a little slower at the finish line.
And I mean, you know, so it was an interesting track. Nice though, nice and clean. He gave away a lot of money, and nice trophies and everything. It was nice. It wasn't a bad trip, coming from Westchester anyway. A little closer than Atco, but Atco was a great track.
Well, I'll tell you what. To digress back to the older days with the flagman and these staggered starts like you're talking about.
Yeah.
There was a lot to that, and it was sometimes to the advantage to have a slower car. And I'll tell you a quick story. They used to do it at 7580 Dragway in Maryland and ran at night sometimes. Well, if I was out 4 or 5, 6 car lengths running maybe an A-gasser who was way back on the starting line and I was way out, the flagman had to come out there with me.
Right.
So I could see him.
Oh, sure.
Well, it's dark out there. So cars like this used to leave the line at about 8,000 RPM, and the flagman is standing out there by your front fender, and he doesn't want to be there. So when he got ready to throw the flag, you could just leave. And he was not going to, for 2 reasons. One, he wanted to get out of the way because there was an A-gasser coming in the dark.
Right.
So all he wanted to do was get off the track. So you could almost dictate the start rather than the flagman doing it, because he didn't want to stand out there and try to stop everybody for a restart. It was a lot of fun.
Interesting concept.
It was.
The good old days.
Yeah, it was fun.
Motor in here. Tell us about the motor.
1957 Chevrolet block, 283 originally, 301 cubic inches now. It's an old engine actually built in the 60s. It's got old Ford screw pistons in it. This is stuff you can't see and nobody cares about, but I thought it was cool.
And us that know of it.
Yeah, and it's got an old set of Jocko cylinder heads from California, 1962. Early set of Hillborns, Vertex Magneto, all the stuff we used to use.
Now, what was the record you held? What time? And did you hold both ends? Did you hold miles per hour too?
Most of the time, I didn't. ET records were the ones that I got generally. At one time, we held the D-gas record, speed and ET, but that was just one time. Usually it was ET only, Eastern Drag News record, NHRA record, and C-gas for a short time, ET records.
Dave, did you follow the Drag News circuit? Did you wind up being a top dog in Eastern Drag News?
I wasn't. I had the record that when Eastern Drag News had a record list for a short time. I went in the Army in 1964.
Oh, okay. So you missed it.
I missed the top dog deal.
I see.
There, but several of my teammates were. Fred Bear was the top dog in B-gas for a while. Altizer was, Gene Altizer in A-gas. Yeah. K.S. Pittman in A-gas Super. Yeah. I was really lucky. I got to race with some great guys. And
had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time, believe me.
This is a gorgeous car, and I guess, what are you doing now? You're doing, you don't make any passes with this thing. Like, you won't go to Beaver Springs and make a pass, will you?
No, I'm retired, and so is the car.
So is the car. So you just do the car show circuit.
That's basically it. We both led a hard life, and I think it's time to take a breather.
It's a great car. You know what? I'm glad that we could share some memories and give and let some of the people that don't know you and don't know the car, now they will. And it's really a pleasure, to see you and meet you and. Enjoy the rest of the show, and I'm sure we're going to run into you again at another show soon.
Great. Thank you very much,
Thank
Dennis.
you so much.
All right.
One of the legendary C-gassers, C-gas WILLYS, was the late Charlie Hill and his Filthy 40. All you guys back in the Northeast know this car. And, of course, the legendary driver is Mort Zartmann. And we got Pork with us on Cars and Us.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to see you and see this remake of Charlie Hill's car.
Yeah, I was very pleased to have somebody do something. I guess Larry had contacted me a couple years ago and asked me if I cared, and I had no plans on doing anything like that. I'm, you know, getting up in the years, and while I'd like to have one, it's okay that I don't, you know. And he ended up doing this, and he was kind enough to bring it down to York last year, which was the first year it was out. And since that, he's taken it to a couple other. He was in Thompson, Ohio, down to National Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green, and then down there he was selected to be one of the 50 participants at the U.S. Nationals this year, which is the 45th anniversary of when Charlie and I won the national championship out there. So it's got some special meaning to me, you know, and I'm hoping I might get a chance to just run down the track maybe 40, 50 mile an hour.
Will you?
If they let me, I will. I'll run it.
See why they wouldn't.
Now, I don't know if they'll run it hard, but I'll run it down the track. I'd dearly love to do that. I think that'd be great.
Now, how much of an input did you have with the remaking of this?
Well, not that much. Larry's quite a craftsman himself. He's got a couple Willys and has the knowledge. He knows what he's doing. He put this thing together, and it really, really is a nice car. And the striping, he had pictures to work from what the Filthy 40 looked like, so he was pretty well on with the thing, and I think it looks great, you know.
So the viewers out there that really don't remember it, the original was filthy.
Oh yeah, that was whatever happened. That's how we got the name Filthy 40. Charlie was not into painting cars, so he always just primed it, and he had the stripes on as it has now. And I guess one year at Indy, I think it was 1962, we had low ET and top time both years, but I think in '62 we had some problems, and we needed to be by ourselves, and it had rained out there for a while, and it was pretty muddy over in this one field, so we took it over there and parked it, worked on it. We had mud up to our ankles, and I think then after that somebody started calling it the Filthy 40. We ended up writing it on the window, and we never did bother washing it or stuff. He wasn't into that. He just wanted to go fast.
That's it, and he succeeded in doing that, of course, and it was a very well-known car all over. I mean, not only out here, but just throughout the country. Yeah,
well, we ran a lot of drag strips up north and down south, probably out to the Mississippi. Never went to the West Coast, but we had the opportunity to run some of the better running sea gassers when they came to Indianapolis, and we beat them.
Right, that's it, top dog.
Right, that's what it was. It was a great feeling, and it was a real honor to drive for Charlie. I've been drag racing for a number of years before that, and we had some good cars, but never had that one that really just did the job. But this one did.
This one did.
Yep, when he got a hold of me and asked me if I'd consider driving, I jumped at it. And between he and I and the other guys in the crew, we got the thing going pretty good. And there's the story.
Now, you mentioned that you ran tracks in up north. Name some of them.
We were up in Long Island, and I think there was a place up in Massachusetts we went one time. Wasn't that many. I mean, Pennsylvania and stuff.
I have a friend who was pretty good friends with Charlie. He ran in Anglia. He came from Westchester, New York, and all our home track was Dover Drag Strip. Now, I don't remember if Charlie ever ran the car up there, but these two guys kind of had a lot of things going. He built an Anglia, and he always talks about Charlie.
Oh, really? Well, anybody that met him, Charlie left an impression on him. He was quite a guy.
He would go out to his shop, and and he would come out to Westchester. So they were pretty friendly.
Oh yeah, well, good, good.
I wasn't sure whether he had run Dover Drag Strip or not.
I don't.
It's
people
hard for you to
say,
remember.
well, they saw me this and that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of memories, but I'm not remembering everything. I do remember people when I see them and this and that and.
So you had a good time traveling around?
Oh yeah, it was great. I quit in '65. I was
just going to ask you that.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, 1965 I quit, and I had a family and I got 2 young sons, and I decided we ought to do something, maybe a more permanent money maker than what we were doing. We had the fiberglass business going, and that was pretty good. But I had a chance to do some other things, promotional work, and actually I went back to college and
Did you?
finished and got my degree in accounting, and then I went to work and had a real job.
And what do you do now? I mean, you're retired?
I'm retired. I was when I get out of college, I went to work for the Internal Revenue Service, and I was a field agent for 32 years. Then I retired in 1996.
Good for you. So what's your day like nowadays?
Get up in the morning and drink coffee, and I do some accounting work and I do taxes during tax season. But since I retired, I've never been without something to do. And of course, then I go with the guys during the summer to the car things, Bowling Green. We're going up to Buffalo, New York.
That's the WILLYS home run.
WILLYS home run.
With John Trouble.
Right. We're the grand marshals up there this year, so we're going up there, and of course then Paul and Wanda are taking the car out to Indy, so
yes.
Be there, and then possibly I may go to Henderson, and then I owe my wife a couple of trips without cars. So,
Without cars.
Yeah, so we got to do something like that. But other than that, it's
You're still a busy man. That's great, and you're still young.
Well, I feel good,
You look terrific.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Can I buy you lunch?
The check's in the mail, I know.
Yeah. No, really appreciate it.
Mort, it's been a pleasure.
Sure.
All right, I'm sure the
you.
viewers are going to get a lot of enjoyment.
Well, I hope they do.
In seeing you and hearing some of the stories, and a trip back down memory lane.
A lot of stories. We'll have to sit down and chat sometime.
Enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you perhaps at Buffalo.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be there.
Mort. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I look forward to Buffalo. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to welcome to Cars and Us Randy and Yolanda Davis with not one, but two cars. The family that races together stays together, but they're not racing. But you know what? I'm going to welcome you to Cars and Us.
Thank you.
Yolanda, Randy.
Thank you.
Pleasure. We talked off camera, so this is going to be a piece of cake for you. The viewers will get a chance to see the cars after we talk. This 33 WILLYS is just gorgeous. Now, this is your car, I take it.
Our car, yes.
Well, don't you guys
These
drive
are both
different?
his cars. Both of these cars are his cars. He's owned these cars 3 years before I met him.
Yeah, but you kind of share them, though, don't you? I mean, you take them out, and do you like when you go to cruises and shows and stuff like that? Do you, one of you has to drive one car?
Yeah, she has the privilege of driving this one since right now I can't fit in it with my legs. So she drives the WILLYS. I ride along.
You know what? I thought it was just the opposite. I thought the minor, this little minor van, this is what, 47?
48 Morris van.
48.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was your toy.
Oh, I drive that too. But see, the irony of that is, while he's been trying to get his cars finished or fixed over the years, I have a 1935 Chevy sedan that he's been driving for the last 18 years. So since he's been driving my car, now I get to drive his cars.
Oh, okay. I see.
It works out.
You know what? They're both really gorgeous. Let's let the viewers. We'll talk to Yolanda first about this minor, because I really didn't know the year at the beginning, and I didn't know. I thought at first it might have been a Morris minor, but it's not. It's a minor van.
It's a Morris Series Z van before the minors, actually.
Okay, now that's the year before.
The year before. The minors have a different body style than the Morris van itself.
What's in this thing? What motor? What kind of driveline is in here?
Right now, it's toting a big Buick V6 Oddfire, and it has a 40 Econoline front axle. It has a 8-inch Ford rear. When the car was originally built in the 60s, it had a 289 Ford in it when they raced it. It had a 318 Chrysler when we originally bought it. When he changed motors over, the scoop used to stick through the hood, so we had to cover that up. But eventually it's going to have a real V8 back in it again.
When is that?
I'm looking right now. I had a talk.
What do you got in mind?
394 Olds or early Hemi.
Loan?
That
We're not
would.
going to go that far.
I don't know. I'd like to do that. I like the Olds right now. I talked to a guy a while ago. They had a 394 Olds with blower would be nice. Something like in the Stillwoods and Cook car, like my buddy over there has.
Where are you guys from?
Littlestown, Pennsylvania.
Okay, that's where in relation to York?
35 miles south.
Oh, sure, you're right around the corner. What a piece of
Hometown. This is hometown backyard.
what a piece of cake to come to this show. No wonder you're able to bring 2 cars.
And we get to go home at night and sleep in our own bed, too.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
That's the best part. That's the best part of it. I get a good night's sleep, and then I can get up at 7 and come down here to the fairgrounds, dust the cars off, and we're ready to go again.
Let's again tell the viewers about this 33. What's in it, and a little bit of history behind it.
I bought the car in '78. It was shoved in a corner of a garage for a lot of years. Charlie Garrett used to race it. He had 3 accidents with it. And the last one was at Killcare Dragway. He had rolled it 2.5 times and actually went into the woods. And he gave up after the 3rd wreck, and he sold it to a guy in Hanover. And it's set till I found it in '78. And over the years, I've had different projects like 37 Chevy Coupe and Alston and a 37 Ford. And I had a 46 Ford and her 35 Chevy and a bunch of other cars we played with. And we sort of was waiting to find the right guy to do the car and get pieces and parts. Because when he raced it, it had a glass nose, and we had the grill redone. And thank God when it was wrecked, they had whole front end was up overhead in the garage. So the whole front end, steel front end was real cherry, and I had that to work with. But the rest of the body was really tore up from being rolled. So I found an advertisement in Hemmings Motor News. Jim Oddie had another body that he was selling with some doors. And I borrowed my neighbor's truck and drove up to Jim Oddie's house and gave him $2 grand for the body and the doors. I sold the doors off of it, made some of my money back. And I had a friend of mine down in Maryland cut the 2 bodies in half, and the whole roof section of the car and quarter panels across the back, all that's been replaced with the other body. John DeRicchio sold me the tops of the doors because they were smashed down. The rear fenders weren't there. I had to buy them. I had 2 or 3 sets that we had to chop and cut them up to make a good set. And then over the years, I had a guy named John Little that has a fabricating shop. He did the chassis for me with the Winters quick change rear. And then it set for a while because we ran out of money. Over the years, it's like, we went through this period of like '91, we had a chassis done, and we had this done back in the '80s, and this. Finally, in the last couple of years, we started seeing some
results.
Well, we saw results, but we also saw that how big the gasser thing was getting, and how the drag, the reunions were going. And I said, now's the time to get this car together, while the people that still enjoy these cars can see it. Because all these guys that's been around since the 60s and the 70s that's been racing, they're dropping off like flies. And I need to get this out here while the people still are enjoying this, and the people around that used to watch them can still enjoy the car. And remember it. Because if we waited another 10, 15 years, the people that was seeing these cars raced, they might not be around anymore.
Unfortunately, you're right.
I know. And hopefully that the kids will pick up and take
an interest.
Yeah, yes. I hope so. But
and they'll follow in the footsteps
of us.
Yeah.
But if you look around, there is a bunch of kids that's at the show, but you look around and see the guys that was driving the cars and they're signing the autographs. And if people don't come out and see them now, they might not see them next year.
That's for sure.
Charlie Garrett, the guy that owned the car and raced the car, kind of gave him a kick in the seat about 3 years ago. We went to get some pictures of the car because Charlie was very meticulous and took pictures and documented the whole car as he was building it in the 60s and early 70s. And he told us, well, he said, when you get the car finished, bring it around to the old age home. They can wheel me out in the wheelchair and I'll be able to take a look at it if I can still see.
Yeah, that was the kick in the butt that I needed to actually get off the chair and do something about it.
You have, we spoke earlier on, you have quite an extensive background. I mean, because you're relatively young.
Yeah, I started out, I bought a 41 Chrysler Coupe when I was 15 years old, and my dad, he thought I was crazy. But when I bought the Morris, I was 21 years old, and I went to the bank, and they gave me the money for that. And then I found the car, and I went to the bank to borrow another $5,500 for this. And I was at 21 years old. They said, we can't give you the money. You don't have nothing. There's no you don't have
no collateral,
house, nothing. So my mother had
That's
to
your name.
Back. Yeah. My mother co-signed for me to get the car. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the car. And then, like I said, over the years, I got to go into the rod runs, and I was lucky enough to get in with the NHRA. I've been a rep for 20 years, and I've been going, like I said, since I was 16 years old. Most of the time on the weekends, we do sometimes 2, sometimes 3 shows a weekend, and we're nonstop.
That's great. I'm sure the banking and loan institution would love to fund you now.
I actually sat down for a dinner in Littlestown. It's been about a month ago, and the guy that gave me the loan was in the restaurant and sat down next to us. And I actually had pictures of the car and was showing him pictures of the car, and we were discussing about when that happened. He remembered him not giving me the money and what it's worth now.
Yeah, that would make him choke.
Yeah.
Well, where's your next show?
We registered for the WILLYS home run.
Oh, that's right. You're going to go to Buffalo.
I hope to go to Buffalo. We've actually registered for 2 shows that weekend.
Nashville?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, Louisville. Okay.
But we're leaning more towards the home run.
Good. Good. I like to make it up there, too. It's about 8 hours for me. You know, I'll see what happens, you know.
Also, the lady from Henderson, she was
Nancy Wilson.
Nancy Wilson come over and she saw the Morris, and we were already down there last year with the WILLYS. She wants to have both cars, and we're working on that now. But right now we have a trailer for one. We're going to try to get them both down for that show.
We go to Pigeon Forge in September. We go to Henderson in October. And other than that, we don't have an itinerary for indoor shows this year. We've been asked to go to a show in Harrisburg in February. If it doesn't collide with the Pittsburgh ISCA show, we're probably going to go back there. And they've asked us to bring the car to Cleveland, to the ISCA show in Cleveland, and probably Buffalo, New York. So that would be our ISCA 3-show minimum for the year.
That's some schedule. I don't envy you, but you know what? It's a great calendar.
Yeah, we waited. We finally got the car done. I said, while it's fresh, we're going to go to the shows. We did the Pittsburgh show, and they gave us an honor of the Steel City Award of Excellence, which is about as nice as it gets. We were lucky enough last year, it blew me away when they picked it for like the best of the show last year at this show. It amazed me. And then we had it at the York US 30 NSRA Street Rod Show, and they picked 5 cars out of 37. 1,300. No, well, the big 3,700 cars, and they picked 5 best cars, and we got a pros pick.
Did you? That's terrific.
It was just fantastic. The response with the car has been great.
Well, you know what? I'm glad I got a chance to get you for a few minutes, and I'm sure the viewers are really going to appreciate, you know, what you have here as well, and hopefully we'll see you Buffalo.
I hope so too.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Randy,
you.
Good luck. Yolanda.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. All right.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you down the road.
Oh yeah. Thank you.